college system be abolished and replaced with adult suffrage. We are saying the electoral college system, which is used to vote for youth MPs and local government councillors, deprives the youth of an opportunity to directly vote for their leaders and is neither used as an avenue for interest aggregation nor accountability by the youth leaders. And that ahead of every election, little is done by the Electoral Commission. Good enough the Secretary is here to provide the necessary information and the logistical support, making the system a ground for manipulative politics and denying the youth the opportunity to make informed decisions. And we are giving an instance that the Electoral Commission in 2021 Electoral Roadmap committed to conduct workshops for special interest groups to sensitize and create awareness about the electoral processes, which was never done. We'll probably hear from the Secretary on why this wasn't done. It's possible it's still in the pipeline. And this has denied the youth timely and certified information regarding youth committee elections. And so the demand is that this whole issue of electoral college be rethought to an adult suffrage. We are now getting into the plenary for this, but I would like to suggest that if you've had an opportunity of making your point clear on the A4 idea, and that is on representation, give an opportunity to others to also make input into the next. So in other words, if you have spoken previously, for now, stay your hand, and we give an opportunity to the rest. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, by show of arms, let's have, we are going to begin from the back. The liaison officers, I hope you are following. We are going to have Daisy number 1, Angela, Agnes number 2, ladies, and then we will move to number 3, the gentleman in pink, and we have the gentleman at the back, number 4, then number 5, I forget, Musinguzi? Benson, yes, number 6. Then we will have number 7 in green, and we shall close it. We shall close it with number 8. I'm still cognizant of your, Okay, number 8 in that order. Please, number 1, Daisy.
I'm not supposed to spread furniture, right?
Once again, to remind you, please keep Satan at bay by not letting him tempt you into touching the microphone, and all not speaking with your mask on.
Good morning, everyone. Nachan Zwitadis is my name from the Democratic Party. I consent to our memorandum item B, but I also seek to have a slight input that I think we can make maybe a little loud, especially on the issue of manipulation of politics. The democratic principles and legal practices call that we need to have individual rights respected in the electoral context. But the current system of voting for the young people is very, very unreasonable, and it's one of the key factors impeding free participation and expression of interest of political choices. I'll give an example of what we've gone through in Entebbe when we are voting for the youth councils, where SFC took over electoral spaces just because whenever NRM realized that their line was shorter than the other of the opposition, they could just cause any chaos they could just to intimidate the young people to cross their choices. So I beg that amidst the fact that we are going into adult suffrage, the issue of having the privacy of our balloting disregarded is very unreasonable and is a very big threat to our democratic principles. And I beg that Electoral Commission reconsiders, because we are also taxpayers, just like the women are voting by secret ballot. We need our ballot protected without intimidation, without fear of who I'm going to vote for, because we are under serious surveillance during political spaces when we are voting, and then next, UPDF is hunting for you, SFC is hunting for you, which is very unreasonable. So we need privacy for our ballot.
Thank you very much. I think that's a good addendum to that. Once again, okay, number 2 over there, but as number 2 comes on board, we agreed that each speaker will have 45 seconds. So try to be as brief. Be as brief as a cock.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Agnes Shirabo, aspiring youth MP Central Region. I oppose this issue because I think adult suffrage cannot vote for the youth representatives. From village level, I believe that everyone is engaged. And those leaders they choose or they elect go to parish level. They continue to elect their leaders to sub-county, then to the district. I oppose that or this because it will become too expensive for us youths. As you see us, I don't think we have much to look around to everyone or to solicit the votes, as you know that everything became commercialized. Then I also agree with this, that Electoral Commission had proposed to sensitize and create awareness about the electoral process. They never conducted any awareness from underground. That is my submission.
Thank you, Agnes. So a shift, yes, electoral college, no electoral college. Okay, number 3 over here in pink.
Thank you very much. My name is Hassan from the Justice Forum. I entirely agree with this proposal because one, the electoral college system is the genesis of every problem we are facing with the misrepresentation of the youths in the August House and the other local government councils, because we cannot hold accountable to leaders we did not subscribe to in their voting. We cannot hold accountable to leaders we don't know. Like, for example, you can see right now in the Central Region, majority of the youths in the Central Region doesn't know their regional MP. They don't know her. Majority of the youths in the local levels, they don't know their councillors in their respective councils. They cannot hold them accountable. Once this stand into adult suffrage, they will be ready to come to us and solicit for votes. 2, we shall decrease on the monetization of campaigns. The electoral colleges are so much based on money, on who has the big bag of money, who will take the vote. So if we turn it to be adult suffrage, we can really appreciate that much of these problems will be solved. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, in secondment, number 4 over there. No. Number 4, I think, is at the extreme end. Yes, the gentleman in the very corner is number 4.
My name is Konge Charles from Forum for Democratic Change. I'm the youth chairperson, Wakiso District. I second item B because of this one reason. I'll give you an example of my village in Wakiso District, Chengera Town Council, in Katereke Parish. The village is called Nakatema Manja. In 2016, when we were voting youth structures, we had only 7 voters on the voting day. The chairperson, we had 2 contestants for chairperson. They turned up. The other 8 who were contesting for other positions never turned up. No wonder they were unopposed, so they didn't see reason why they would turn up. So we had only 7 voters in a village which has so many youths. So such a kind of structure cannot be accountable to us. So that's why I 100% second this. But on MP level, you'd find that it would be so wide, because we've proposed that we have 2 regional MPs. For example, Buganda. How will I come from Wakiso, go and campaign in Buyikwe, go and campaign in Masaka maybe, yet you've said that we don't have money as youth. So I would propose that we can have electoral college for MPs, MPs being voted by councillors who have been voted by adult suffrage. I would beg to propose.
Okay, that's an amendment. Interesting one. Okay. Number 5, Benson.
Thank you. Rugumayo Edson is my name, and I am the Secretary for Foreign Affairs of the National Youth Council of Uganda. Now, on item number 2B, I stand to protest that young leaders, fellow young leaders, please take heed. When you advocate for adult suffrage, I understand that you have the desire and the need to vote for your leaders directly. However, I would also like to draw you to the attention that leaders over years, the youth leaders over years, have made great strides in making sure that there are structures of the youth, that is the National Youth Council. Number 1, going to adult suffrage impedes and weakens these structures. Number 2, the wide coverage of these regions. For someone running for Central MP, Youth MP, to have to campaign to every single cell in in Central Uganda, that is nearly to impossible. It will create more of populist leaders than actually refined leaders who have sat with the leaders elected as representatives for you all to refine and get the best leaders. So, number 1, you go to adult suffrage. That will make you go away with all the structures of youth leadership. That is the National Youth Council. You need to draw lessons from the Women Council. Earlier before, the women members of parliament were voted for by electoral colleges. But the women members of parliament wanted to feel equal to the area members of parliament. They advocated for the adult suffrage. What has happened ever since? We have a women council running for over 20 years without being replaced. Do you want the National Youth Council to be of the same? Because as threshold, parliament cannot be fully constituted without the presence of the 5 members of parliament. So, okay, if you do not have that, expect to greatly damage the Youth Council leadership structures. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. So another voice against the adult suffrage. Number 6. Yes, number 6, that gentleman.
Thank you. I'm Daniel from Rakai, Justice from Uganda. I stand to second the proposal that the electoral colleges should be abolished. Just because of one reason, these colleges don't give free participation of the youth in elections. For example, if the youth are allowed to vote in these other positions, woman MP, member of parliament, and whatever, why then aren't they allowed to freely participate in even electing their youth leaders? So I therefore advocate for abolishing the electoral college system in electing youth leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move to number 7. Who is number 7? No. You are not on the list. I think number 7 has abdicated. Since they have abdicated, let's move direct to number 8 and have it closed. We will then vote. Unless the issue is completely different from the proposals that have already been made. But yes, number 8. Please wear your mask. Don't be tempted.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am called Mercy Kufiona, aspiring local council 3 chairperson, Moyo Town Council, and making my submission on item 21B. I agree that the electoral college system be abolished and replaced by the adult suffrage. I learned about the Electoral College when I took interest in politics, because this is my first time in politics. When I went back to my people trying to consult, a lot of people did not actually know about Electoral College. There has been a lot of they're going to disseminate information, they're going to bring in workshops to educate people about the same, but my people in Moyo are not aware about most of them. Actually, there are youth leaders who get to the council and people wonder. There has never been, over the many years, a Madi youth representative, even regionally. Basically, because we do not know about the same. I should be that one gladly in 2026. So I therefore say that the youth electoral college system be abolished and replaced by the adult suffrage. So just like the adult suffrage, we can be able to reach out to many people and informed decisions can be taken. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like that we now go to, the campaigns are done. The campaigns for this item are done. We can now move to the next item of voting. So we have two sides. We have a side that says abolish electoral college system and replace it with the adult suffrage. But we also have those that are in favor of maintaining the status quo. May I, by show of hands, see those in favor of maintaining the status quo? In other words, those that say that let us keep voting the youth representatives through an electoral college system. By show of arms, our polling returning officers, please do the needful. 9. The returning officers are in disagreement. So who is he? Now, you see what happens at the national elections? One of them will change the DR forms. Okay? Okay, let's vote again. Those in favor of maintaining the status quo. In other words, let us maintain the electoral college. I hope we are not going to have a different result. 12. Okay, 12. This time they are in agreement. By show of arms, those in favor of abolishing electoral college and replacing it with adult suffrage. $20? 29. Okay. As with all the powers entrusted to me, as the National Youth Convention returning officer, I declare that the people in favor of abolishing the electoral college and replacing it with adult suffrage have carried the day with 29 votes, while those in favor of maintaining the status quo have polled 12. May we thus extend a hand clap to the winners of the day. Thank you very much. We can now flip to page 3. Mr. Commission Chairperson, Commission Secretary, I thought it would be of interest for you to know that the youth representatives here are an aggregation of youth leaders from across the country. The Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy, the IPOD Secretariat, working with the Public Policy Institute, carried out a national process of seeking the views of the young people in the 4 regions of this country, in the north, in the east, in the central, and in the west. The youth leaders that came generated ideas, which ideas were filtered to have what you have right before you. The issues there are an amalgamation of what was cross-cutting. The people here are representatives of youth structures from those various regions. And we therefore believe that they have locus to even vote for and on behalf of their colleagues that have remained out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we can flip the page and go to number 2.2a. We demand for youth affirmative representation up to 40% in political parties and organizations' governance structures. I have been informed that there are voices of dissent. And the voices of dissent are not in terms of the position, the general position, but that some people here agree to the democratic process, but with amendments. The Secretariat is capturing. The Secretariat is capturing, for instance, for all the views that you represent, or rather that you articulate. For instance, you say, yes, while this is agreeable, I would suggest that we have this as an amendment even to that position. So they are being captured, ladies and gentlemen. It's not wholesomely carried that, yes, the youth representative, the youth leaders agreed that we carry this the way it is. So that item or that issue is, please, taken note of. Okay? 22A, we are saying that the youth are not adequately represented in key governance structures in political parties, despite their demographic significance and activism in political party processes. Several party constitutions have lacunas and do not fully recognize and provide for youth structures and representation across governance structures. This demand is to the attention of the Speaker of Parliament, the Electoral Commission, and the political party leaders. Okay. Can we have people who would like to make input into this? I hope the people putting up their arms are those that have not spoken before. Okay? Mercy first, and the gentleman here. We seem to have only two. Okay, 3. After the 3, we will move to the next. Mercy first. Mercy, the gentleman of FDC, and then Katende.
Okay.
Please wear your mask.
My name is Lakisa Mercy Faith, a doctor by training and aspiring youth leader. I belong to the Democratic Party. I agree with the demand for this in regard to the fact that in most political parties, we do not have goodwill to nurture, mentor, and develop young political leaders. In addition, we have a generational gap difference where the young are perceived as unserious and with a lack of experience, and therefore it denies us the chance to participate freely within our political parties. And I therefore affirm that we need to have the young participate in political parties, political party structures, and come to a table of decision making within the different organizations.
Thank you. So you agree with the 40% proposal?
Yes.
Thank you. The gentleman right to your right.
I'm Mulindwa Walid Lubega. I subscribe to the Forum for Democratic Change, where I currently serve as its national youth leader. I'm in total agreement with Memorandum 22A, where I think young people shouldn't be spectators of the leaders, in quote, the leaders of the political parties and government institutions. We need young leaders to be involved fully in decision-making processes within their political parties and government agencies. my view is that we need to come up with deliberate and specific amendments to our political parties, especially the Political Parties and Organizations Act, to amend it to provide for an inclusion of the youth leaders to be part of the all key departments, key organs of the parties. For example, in FDC, we have the National Executive Committee, we have the Management Committee, we have district committees, we have village committees. Young people must be, the constitutions of our political parties must reflect the inclusion of the young people in all those party organs. So we need a deliberate and specific and measurable amendment to provide for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And finally, Katende.
Thank you, Lawrence. My name is Katende Moses from the Mighty Democratic Party. The Memorandum 22A, for me, I think the demand is obligatory and required. And these are the reasons. One, because young people are very energetic. They can help in transformation of the party structures. Number two, I think when you have young people on board, they bring fresh ideas. Number three, I think when you bring young people on board, also overcomes authoritarian practices. Many political parties here have such practices. So to me, I think this demand is necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we can vote on this. I don't know whether we should vote since we have not had any voices of dissent. Should we assume that this is an agreeable position to all and that political parties, that we demand for affirmative representation of up to 40%? Is that with an amendment? Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, but what is the other alternative? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, no. I think we agreed, ladies and gentlemen, you had moved out. Yeah, you moved out when we were beginning the discussion, and then you came in between. At least for the respect of everyone, we agreed we will have to move collectively. Okay? So, what we are saying is, it's a demand. Do we vote on it? Yes or no? If we are going to vote on it, what is the alternative? We do narrated from you. Okay? But anyway, Mr. Mulekwa, please guide us. In Electoral Commission, what happens when a candidate is unopposed? Do you still do ballot papers for them? At least with your guidance. If the candidate is unopposed and you go ahead with the ballot papers, then we will go ahead and vote. What happened? Oh, so he says it will be negatory expenditure. So we are also not going to spend. Okay. Thank you so very much for the experience. I think for some of you who are aspiring to be members of parliament, if the vote comes, if your name doesn't appear, just know you have sailed through. Okay, so we are not going to vote on that since it's not a point of contention. Okay, so B, we demand for a reduction of the Electoral Commission nomination fees for youth running for president and parliament. So there are people here who would like to challenge Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Norbert Mao, and all those others, and Honorable Basalirwa. But the nomination fees set by law for those intending to stand for president and member of parliament are high for the majority of the youth. And this limits the candidature of many deserving young people. The demand is to the attention of the speaker, but also to the attention of the people that put it into practice. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have any views, proposals contrary to what is stipulated on the draft that is before you? I hope this time we're not going to have people scratching their heads and then later on they claim they wanted to speak. Okay, we are going to begin, and like I said, if you have spoken before, give chance to the others. The lady in pink at the back, number one, we will have, you are from NRM, I trust. Yes. We are going to have from the gentleman here in UPC. Okay. Then we shall move to the lady from DP, from Chibuku, number 3. Is anyone of FDC? Okay, yes, the lady from FDC, number 4. Of those whose hands are up, anyone from Jema? Okay, then we have number 5, Kasumba, and in number 6, the gentleman here of UPC. Then we'll vote in that order. Pink, the lady in pink from Fort Portal. Please don't be tempted to touch the microphone.
Thank
and
you
let
very
Satan
much.
not move close to you by stopping you from rightly wearing your mask.
Thank you very much. My name is Jenny Haisiwe. I am the Youth Council at Chenjejo District and I subscribe to NRM. For me, I'm in support, but with some amendments. I'm trying to say not only the aspirant MPs, but for both from councillors, because they all pay and at their level, it means they all don't have. For example, a sub-county youth councillor, they also pay, and the district councillors, they also pay. And again, to parties, for example, youth councillor for the district in NRM, we are paying 200,000. Now from where? So for me, I'm suggesting even to all parties, not only Electoral Commission, they have to deduct the amount of money. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I like the question you posed. Number 2, number 2 is right in front here. Just before you get into speak, let me bring to your attention, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe we'll open up a little more. If you look at item B and C, it is all about, okay, item A is talking about reducing nomination fees, but item C is talking about scrapping. Okay? So let us discuss them concurrently, but when it comes to voting, we will split the time, the voting time. Okay? Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Sam Tindimwebwa, all the way from Kabale in Kigezi. I'm totally in agreement with item B and C that talks about the reduction of the Electoral Commission nomination fees for youth running for president and parliament, and also scrapping of the same for youth at party primary elections. I'm totally in agreement, and actually if there is any serious reason why I had to travel all the way from Kabale was to come and add a very strong voice on this, because currently I feel the politics in this country has been monetized, and this curtails the opportunities for youth to participate in mainstream politics. So I would propose that these fees be scrapped off at party level, and actually to add on this, maybe money facilitation to the Electoral Commission be increased so that they can seriously cater for all the electoral expenses, since the argument is that the money that comes from nomination fees helps to cater and to run the electoral activities.
Thank you.
I would propose serious and efficient funding to the Electoral Commission, so that my assumption is that when that is increased at the Electoral Commission level, the parties shall be helped to scrap it off.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm
The gentleman from Kabale.
Sam Tindimwebwa, aspiring for the mayorship of Kabale municipality.
Thank you, Mr. Tindimwebwa. He says, while we are lamenting on reducing the fees that are paid to the Electoral Commission for youth, for MP and President, we should actually increase. Did I hear you right when you said we double the fees? Okay, now I was pulling your leg, but we increase, that's the thing. Okay, and increase at the Electoral Commission level and scrap at the party level. Okay, increase government funding for EC and so that they remove the, okay. All right, number 3.
Thank you so much. My name is Doreen Akware, affiliated to Democratic Party, aspiring woman member of parliament for Kibuku district, and still aspiring as a sub-regional representative for Buked at democratic level. I would love to add a point on Memorandum 2B, and it's good that the secretary from Electoral Commission is here. Being a second-time contendant, I would also echo that we demand for a reduction of the Electoral Commission nomination fees for youth running for president and parliament to be reduced. My argument is that this amount was formerly 200,000, but out of the blue in 2015, it was drastically increased from 200,000 to 3 million, which was unreasonable. It was so unrealistic, and I think it was brought out of bad faith because we're so many of us who were coming to contest and were young people. The people who brought up this law never wanted us to contest, and that is why I'm saying it was brought out of bad will. So my humble request to the Secretary Electoral Commission and also the attention to the Speaker that this amount would be put to a reasonable amount. The reasonability of it is up to the legislators to come up with that amount, so that to allow and also create space that also young people will have space of how to penetrate into the electoral process, because we need this money to run the electoral process. But you find that in time, even after paying that money, the electoral process is not favorable for the opposition candidates, and it's sidelining to the ruling government.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Number 4. Number 4, yes, the lady from FDC.
Thank you. My name is Naula Manjel Bole. I'm contesting for woman member of parliament, Chibuk district, on FDC flag. I won by 8-9% in our primaries. As a teacher by profession who graduated 4 years back, I find the race very, very complicated due to this Part B that we are talking about. You are a private teacher and you're earning 300,000 per month, and now you feel like it's time to bail out your people out of bad leadership, and you come into the race, and the Electoral Commission is expecting you to pay 3 million. Yet you have been earning 300,000 Ugandan shillings. That is so unfair. What does this show us? It's just a direct implication that no, if you have no money, you have no choice. You should just opt out of campaigns. To me, this should be scrapped off actually. for fairness. Otherwise, we the youths now look at a person like me. I'm contesting against a minister who has been in power for the last 25 years. What do you expect if you keep on increasing the nomination fee? To the Speaker of Parliament and the Electoral Commission, think twice about it. Otherwise, you're missing out the right leaders for the right generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 5. Number 5. Yes, Kasumba.
Thank you so much. My name is Geoffrey Kasumba from the National Resistance Movement. For purposes of conceptualizing this document, I would like us to put this as 2.3, and it should be financing youth political participation. As my colleagues have alluded to this, most of us here sit in the Interparty Youth Platform, and you would recall that the preamble of this document says we are submitting it to the Honorable Speaker. Last year, in June, we made a document which was prior to this, and one of the things that are on the table of the Speaker is that the judiciary has not yet set a date up to now to hear our case on this nomination fee. We as a YOP challenged this in court, but you can imagine our country from 2006 up to now. Young people, if we really think that these generations above us are thinking for us, look at only this issue. They cannot set a date to hear that this nomination is either scrapped. All of us had this as a shock, from 200,000 to 3 million. Now, Mr. Chairman, I think we should also add that apart from scrapping off this nomination fee, the political parties should also show us clearly how they finance the youth leagues. We have been talking about this time and long. A case in point, under the Political Parties Act, political parties do receive money from government to finance their activities because of the political party strength they have in parliament. For NRM, we get money, although some people say we are thugs and what, but the money that comes from parliament to NRM is a lot. It's over in billions. Gemma here, the representative, Mr. He's there, and we get like 3 million from parliament, you see. So, we would like an audit of this money, either through the Auditor General, and say how much was apportioned to the youth leagues. Because once you tell me that I am being nominated and I'm paying 3 million, okay, once it's scrapped, isn't a political party going to finance your posters? You're a young person. Because for me, who's contesting for national published of the NRM Youth League, 3 million is very good money to finance my campaigns. Even if I'm coming for an MP, I would use 1 million to print my posters. I would use 1 million for a few radio shows. I would use 1 million for a few logistics. Now you come flamboyantly and say that I have to pay 3 million. Then in the following morning, you say that the youth are the leaders of this country. I mean, guys, let's get out of these joking things.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kasumba.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Kasumba, you sort of agree, but you are saying that the amendment, that you agree, but with an amendment that there should be specifically for item C, and that political parties should show how they finance the youth leagues. On top of the fees being scrapped completely, the money that comes from government, the political parties should show how they finance the youth leagues. Okay, that was number 6. The next one was, I think, no, you were not one of them. Were you? The gentleman on a red mask, you are not. I don't want us to break our own rules, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, we will break every rule and, until cows go home. Okay. Number 6, yes. Number 6 was here. If you don't remember your number, it becomes difficult. It will be hijacked.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Kawesa Nsobya from the Uganda People's Congress. Since it is my first time to speak here, I will use the same opportunity to also extend my thanks to Mr. Frank here from the Netherlands Institute for this kind of arrangement. You see, political organizations and political parties are extremely important for any democracy, in my opinion, because they are able to give participants color. A politician worth their name should be in position to be one of color, one you can identify with an idea. While I was on my way here, I met something interesting. I saw posters of Jose Chameleon for Lord Mayor and Michael Mabike. And something interesting there was they had deliberately put a green stripe. Yet they just joined a political organization the other day. Now, in my head, I was imagining if somebody in their psychology is already conflicting to that extent, then you wonder the kind of leadership they are going to extend to the voters. So color is extremely important, in my opinion. Now, on the issue that
is
was
color
just
part of the nomination fees?
Sorry?
Is the color one of the items required for nomination fees?
I said since it was my opportunity, it could be the only one I get. So I wanted to pass that as well. but
Okay,
on the issue of
but your time
nomination-
is spent. But I've given an extension of 15 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much. In this one, I am in total agreement. However, my only amendment would be that we don't just tie it to the youth. We can extend it. Let the reduction be for the entire positions, because it is going to be very difficult to have nomination fees separate for, say, maybe the elderly and the middle age, and also the young people. So we can, in our amendment, we can push it as for the entire population, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. So, the submissions and proposals into this have come to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we had an engagement with the persons with disability. And one of the things they told us was, which I would also like to tell you, every one of us here has the probability of every one of us here being disabled is 0.5. But the probability that all of us here will remain youths for all through our lifetime is 0. Okay? So even as we make these proposals, let us be cognizant of the fact that being a youth is transitional. Because as you are making proposals right now, next day you are going to transit, and you will want to go back and reverse the proposal you made, because it does not favor the state in which you are at that time. So let's make proposals that are for the good of everybody, not only us as the young persons, but for the entire good of the country. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to vote. We are now going to vote on reduction of the nomination fees and all maintenance of the same for Parliament and presidential. First, do we maintain what is current or reduction? And anyway, if we are talking of reduction, you see, the current fees are 3 million for MPs, and is it 5 or 20 for president? 20 for president. Legislation can come up tomorrow and they say for MP we are reducing from 3 million up to 2.8. That's a reduction. Or even to 2.9 million for MP. And for a presidency, we are reducing from 20 million to 19. That is the ambiguity of the demand we are making. Do you realize that? Okay. So anyway, if we are saying we are demanding for a reduction from what we have today to what? To what? From 3 million to what? From 20 million to what? To reasonable. Because even reasonable is relative. So what are we? We do not want, because. What is that agreeable level to which we can stoop? Yes, the gentleman there from Kabale. Just stand up and tell us, let us reduce from here to this. Right, fast.
Thank you so much. My name is Clinton Musings of the Justice Forum. No, for me, I propose that it is taken back to the original figure.
To the original figure?
Original figure, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
The original figure of 200. It was 200 for MP and 500 for, 5 million for president. I think that was it. I think it was 5 million. 5 million for president and 200 for MP. Okay. Are you suggesting a different fee? Yes?
Thank you very much. My name is Otekat Moses, aspiring for Youth MP Eastern Uganda. I come from the great line of Teso. Looking at these issues critically.
Excuse me. Please tell us that I'm suggesting.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please.
From this to this.
Yes, please. So looking at this critically, for me, I suggest if a president is having 20 million, let's have 50% reduction on all interest groups.
Okay.
All the interest groups, you pay 50%. If a member of parliament pays 3 million, let's have 50% reduction for the youth. So you pay 1.5.
What about a member of parliament who is a youth?
A member of parliament
because you are saying if MP is 3 million,
yes,
then all interest groups, half of that.
Yes.
But this person combines the two. Interest group, but also MP.
If you choose to run for the adult suffrage, you go for 3 million.
You are confusing us, sir. We are saying, what should we? Because you are now bringing in another, equation. Let's say, like you have suggested, from what we have currently, let's revert to the former of 5 million and 200,000. What is your suggestion? Don't put punctuations around it.
I want to bring my argument. Because if we say that a member of parliament is stronger and is paying 3 million, a youth, to my opinion, pays a half of that. Because if we say that they pay 200,000.
What about a youth who wants to run for direct constituency?
Then you have crossed to now a member of parliament.
So you are only a youth as long as you are running for special interest.
As long as you want to go for special interest, then therefore I support you.
I hope you are not laying a trap for yourself. Okay, let's have her. We need to close this and move to the next level. Leave your mask on. The microphone is coming.
Well, thank you so much. Susan Achan is my name. I'm the Vice Chairperson, Gudu District, NRM Youth League.
Back to his situation. You are insisting that if a young person is going to run for president, instead of paying 20 million, if you are within the bracket of a youth, pay 10. That's what you're saying? If you want to run for MP, as long as you are below 30 below, then you pay 1.5. That is what you seem to suggest. ladies and gentlemen, I think one of the aspects of a good law is that it should not be biased. Now, if you bring in those aspects of, for me, a number of you here are on the fringes, you are about to cross over. Now, when you cross over, you are going to begin making noise and say, no, we should go back. Let's make demands that are realistic. And like I said, if you have already made a suggestion, give an opportunity. The gentleman there with the red maroon mask.
Thank you very much, everyone here. My name is Alex Opio from UPC. I really don't understand few things, and I need to put it right by you people. You should put me right. One of the fundamentals of public policies that we have in Uganda, it must be uniform, and it should be running effectively for that category of a person, right? If, in case, we bring in the segregatory part of it, like fees, that someone who is interested to run for presidency, yet is a youth of, say, 18 years, right? He's already an adult, but also a youth. If we bring that segregatory part of saying, if you are a youth who wants to run for presidency, should only pay, say, 10 million, it will not be fair. And the government of Uganda shall not allow for that kind of segregation. Then secondly, for someone to say that me, as of you, Alex, intends to run for, say, MP of my constituency, say, Route South, where I come from, will really be very well knowing that he can afford to finance what he's going for.
Great.
So a moment you present yourself, you should be aware that the fees for this thing is like this. The fees for the youth MP is like this. So if we don't understand these few things, our being here will translate into being what? Like trying to gather information that might not go through where we want it to go.
Great.
So
Thank
I
you.
propose we put something uniform for
Thank
the
you.
whole country.
All right.
Thank you very
So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to close this because that we will have people coming up to say, let us completely delete, let us do this. Some of those that are going to begin, that are going to bring in lots of connotations that may not be realistic. I also think it is right that we punch within our weight. It's important because why should I opt for, I don't know, the topmost range of a vehicle on the market that guzzles 50,000 every, because I want to. So I think it's okay that we punch within our weight. So even as you think that you will aspire for presidency, you should be prepared. So what I have had is we have, let's say, two positions, the current one and the former position. I think it is okay for us to make we make a proposal in line of the two. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Or say 50% reduction. Okay, 50% reduction. So we have three positions. We have maintain the current, subject it to a 50% reduction, revert to the old one, to the former. Okay. By show of arms, those in favor of staying the current situation. Those in favor of staying the current situation. The voting time is still on. Those in favor of the current situation? 1. Voting closed. Those in favor of a 50% reduction? This is interesting. Even the seconders of the candidate, some are not voting for the candidate. 13. Okay? And those in favor of the old position? 23. Okay. By virtue of the powers entrusted to me, the reverting to the old position have it. Okay, let's also vote on C. Demand the scrapping of nomination fees. Do we maintain the same position? I want to believe they were old fees. If they were not there, the old position was there. We have the current one and all a 50%. Nomination fees for youth at party primaries. Let us also vote. Those in favor of maintaining the current situation within the parties. There are parties without fees. Okay, I think this is majorly to the chairman of IPOD, the IPOD summit, because this is where some of those decisions can be so much taken. Some parties have nomination fees. But I think the question here is for primary elections, if you want to be a youth MP, you are aspiring for a national position, but you have to be subjected to an internal party process. So you pay nomination fees at that level, right? Okay. And I want to believe this cuts across all parties. Okay. So what do we do now that it doesn't cut across? Okay. So most of these people move around posing as party members, but they don't subscribe annually. Some of them buy cards at the time of elections. So, ladies and gentlemen, maybe the chairman of IPOD Summit will address himself to that and see how he will further this in the summit of his fellow presidents. I want to suggest, therefore, on that particular item, since it involves internal party dynamics, we may leave it to the political duty bearers. They will make a decision at that. But for us, we will still go with the position and say, we are suggesting this. Maybe they will agree to that, depending on the party, subject to some amendments of annual subscriptions and all those other details we're talking about. Okay, so I suggest we move to item D. We demand for a standalone ministry for youth affairs, and that the youth, despite their numerical strength and vulnerabilities, are clumped under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, which is under-resourced and overburdened by its huge constituency of children, workers, women, the elderly, and the PWDs. The demand is to the attention of the policymakers. Okay. This week, the president has sworn in a state minister for that state minister was for what? For the PWDs. Yes, but we have, who is the minister for children and youth affairs? Honorable Nachiwala Chiyingi. She's not elderly. Okay. So maybe we are saying, and I think we may not have, maybe we will have to vote, unless we are saying that we demand for a standalone minister for youth affairs who should be a youth. Okay? Maybe we make that amendment. Okay. Is there anything we want to make, we want to amend onto this? Because if I remember, in all the regions we were saying, yes, a minister who should be a youth. So we have two demands, a standalone ministry and a minister who should be a youth. Is there something, an addendum to that? Yes, this gentleman, but hold on, before. Anyone else who hasn't spoken? Who would like to make a contribution to this? Anyone who hasn't spoken? Anyone who hasn't spoken? I see even those who have spoken have their hands up. Are you just scratching, or you are in between the one who spoke and who hasn't? Okay. Anyone who would like to make a contribution, regardless? Let's begin with that gentleman next to you. That gentleman next to you. We have a lady here. And then we will have that gentleman, 3. Then we will have a lady here, 4. Let's have those 4 first. Please, 45 seconds. And let's not get tempted into making
thank you so much.
The item.
I'll not use more than 1 minute. I am just
1 minute when we have said 45 seconds. This politician.
Sorry. So I am just up to second. However, I wanted to inform the House that we already have so many youthful ministers. Though I wanted us to specifically push for an independent ministry and a minister who should be a youth to handle specifically the youths. So that's what I wanted to.
So you wanted to second?
Yes, I wanted to second, but to propose that we have a ministry and a minister, particularly for the youth. Thank you so much.
That is what we are saying. Any other position different from that for those who have the opportunity of speaking? He has said, which is actually here. I hope we are not going to repeat what is here. An independent ministry focusing on youth affairs, headed by or with a minister who is a youth. Same submission. Walid, is yours different? Okay.
Thank you very much. Mine pertains to strengthening the ministry. As we have a standalone ministry, I propose that we look at strengthening the NYC, which is under the Ministry of Youth. The current NYC National Youth Council is really underfunded, and the structures we have from village to national are more or less reduced to voting machines.
Okay.
So my proposal...
Let me cut you short. What you're talking about is item number F. You have jumped the gun. We are not yet there.
No.
Okay. So, first stay your idea. When we get there, you'll front it.
It doesn't talk about funding.
National Youth Council. We're talking about strengthening it.
Yes.
And strengthening it is twofold. Accountability, but also financially. So stay the idea. We'll get there. The two who want to speak, is your idea different? Please. We are in a race against time. Is it different from an independent ministry with a minister who is a youth? 45 seconds.
I am actually going to use less than 45. Just a qualification. Okay. This minister should we should qualify whether the minister should come among these ones that are elected as youth, or the president is at liberty to appoint from out and then appoints a youth. I think it is clear.
Okay. Finally, Daisy.
But have a youthful minister, but we don't scrap the children off because they can't match with the elderly, they can't match with the person with disabilities, and they can't have their own representation.
Okay, thank you. All right. Do we have a vote on this? Are there any of those that are saying maybe youth affairs will trigger, if we ask for a minister of youth affairs, will trigger a demand for a minister for children, a minister for workers, a minister for women, a minister for men, a minister for the elderly, a minister for the PWDs? Are there those who are saying that Let's go slow. If we demand for that, there will be this. Are they there? Okay. If they are there, hold it. So we have two positions. There are those who are saying that let us remain under the big blanket where we currently are. And there are those that are saying, let us have an independent ministry of our own. Those in favor of maintaining the current status quo. Those in favor of maintaining the situation as it is. Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, where the youth affairs fall. 7. And those in favor of a new, independent and fully dedicated Ministry for Youth Affairs with a youthful minister. By show of arms. (22) Those in favor of a new ministry for the youth have it. They deserve a hand clap from the. You guys are going to campaign. When the EC announces the winner, won't you send a congratulatory message to your opponents and say, yes, I concede defeat? I think we need to learn practicing the politics of accepting defeat, especially when the results are credible. Okay. Okay. So, the issue of establishment of a young women, I think it was a young people. Okay, young women in political party leaders, political parties leadership academy. There are low levels of subscription of young women relative to young men in the political parties, which among other factors underlines male dominance. Young women are not technically and logistically empowered to fully participate in political parties. The leaders of the political parties, Honorable Sumani Basarirwa, this is, I think, much more directed to you as chairman of IPOD Summit. So, is there any contrary view to this position? Ladies and gentlemen, contrary view? Okay. Contrary view or an amendment? Okay. What is that amendment? So you are suggesting that the representation of 40% includes both men and women. Yes, that is true. But the item here is talking about leadership academy, especially for women, to groom them so that they are able to jump out of their shells to participate just like the men do. A contrary position or an amendment? Yes, the lady, Akwari. The people with microphones, the liaison officers. Asmat and Komakech.
I was saying I have something contrary to what is proposing on the mere fact that A cannot be merged with E. These are two different aspects. And on what is presented in Memorandum 22E is actually an independent position. However, I'm seeing where they're saying young women are not technically, which is a mere myth, because I believe there are very many women here who are young, but are technically good via leadership. But we find a problem that in our legal system, to be particular, Article 32 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda provides for affirmative action. We can provide for this academy to empower the women, but we see that there are these ladies who came into politics when they were actually young. And since that law was incorporated there, just like what you said, Professor, or Doctor, sorry, that when we make these laws, we should look at the future. We shouldn't look at the law that is favoring us at a particular time. At that time when they made the laws, it was favoring them as women who needed to be affirmative at that particular moment. But we are seeing that affirmative action is endangering us, whereby the women who started with it are still being affirmed up to now. That since time immemorial, they are in those positions and they've never left it for any young person. So if you tell me you're going to empower me, yet we're in some workshop and an old woman was saying that if we empower these young girls, we are threatened. The people we've mentored are going to overthrow us. That is how we come to see commercialization of politics. You're competing with a minister who has been in power since '86 and has money which you don't have. So I propose that still we need the academy, but we need this article to be worked up. Either we provide term limits. If you are affirmed for that position, be there for 2 terms. Leave it for someone else. In our political parties, we can advocate for agencies that if we have these women, can we go up with a women movement? After we've gone, we have these ladies to take up positions.
Thank you. Although I hear 2 issues that are overlapping, one issue is putting an end to how far somebody can run on an affirmative ticket. Okay? I mean, that's another way of helping to groom the young women. But here the issue was the academies, and you are in total disagreement that actually the young women are not technically disempowered. It's possible that the disempowerment is at the level of logistical and financial. But the item here is saying that yes, the technical abilities could be there, but the thrust out of the shell to go and face it with the men out there is what is still lacking. So maybe we will amend, the Secretariat is capturing that, we'll amend to incorporate the ideas you are suggesting. But the question here is, do we still maintain the leadership academies? Do you think it's a good idea? Yes or no? Okay. There's a gentleman who wants to speak for and on behalf of women. Yes, the gentleman there. Maybe he will participate in the Women's Leadership Academy.
Thank you. First, I'd like to be very honest. On this issue, I'd like to just give guidance, and I hope that's not taken as substantive contribution, because I intend to speak on something else more passionately. My name is Eyeru Jacob, and I'm aspirant for the National Youth Council from the great people of Ateker in Soroti. Now, there is a disconnect between the intention and the push factors. The disconnect is that we want to establish a young women in political parties leadership academy, yet the push factor is that there is no subscription to political parties by young women. In other words, we are going to where the problem is and trying to establish a solution where we will not get the intended participants. I would suggest that we adjust this to be a political parties leadership academy for young women, such that we can deal with the intention of entry and subscription, as opposed to this statement, which seems to suggest that they are inside, but we want to deal with them when they are inside. I agree with my sister that those that are inside are the empowered, the brave, and the forthcoming. Those that are outside are the ones we intend to pull in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we need to move. We need to close this and move. I am also cognizant of our time. Is it very different from what has been suggested? Okay, finally.
Ayebale Jasper is my name, product of Chigezi, and I'm an aspiring candidate for Rwanda East constituency. My proposal would be that we should advocate for more fundings from the government so that the political parties are more funded. Then we put a docket whereby we find that 15% of the money the political parties receive should directly go under the docket of Women League. So in that way, we shall motivate more women to join politics. And believe me, Uganda is going to drive to the right direction because we were undeveloped because we had not respected women first. But trust me, if we respect women, if we involve women in everyday works of our country, we shall have a better Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So do we maintain, let us maintain the request to the leadership of the political parties. The operationalization of the same, maybe at some point in time, even IPOD may think of a leadership academy that may not necessarily be dedicated to women, but as a training ground for political leaders. Okay, so we're not going to vote on that because I don't think there's anyone who wouldn't like to have an academy. All of us are in agreement that we want to have it, but the operationalization is what may change. Okay, thank you. Finally, the issue of the National Youth Council. We demand that the National Youth Council is mandatorily held at least twice a year as an interest aggregation and accountability forum for the youth leaders. And that once elected, youth leaders at the various levels neither consult nor account the electorate. For this reason, it's necessary for government to facilitate the convening of the National Youth Council at least twice a year with a sufficient number of days. Okay, so what we are talking about is when we talk of facilitating, there are two aspects here. Facilitate the National Youth Council so that it is able to hold those at least 2 annual events a year. That is one. But we are also talking about accountability since it is an aggregation of interests. Okay? I don't know the current funding levels of the National Youth Council, but I want to believe that there is a bit of it. Unfortunately, Lydia Nabe is not here. She should have given us a position on that. But would like to hear your views and interests when it comes to this particular item. We would benefit the most from especially the people who are within the National Youth Council. Oh, okay. Yes, Benson. We're going to have him first. Let's have him first. The gentleman at the back in a pink shirt, Walid Rubega. I see someone's hand is even flowering. The lady from Chenjojo. The gentleman, 5. Is that 5? Yes. 5, and then finally 6 from Justice Forum. In that order. Benson.
Thank you so much, the moderator. Once again, I am Rugumayo Edson, not Pedson. Rugumayo Edson, the Secretary for Foreign Affairs of the National Youth Council, and a candidate for Western Uganda Youth MP. When I peruse through issue number F, the current National Youth Council Act provides for the convening of the council at least once a year. If you say at least twice a year, I would be in agreement, total agreement. That would be good. However, on the part of the facilitation, which I also want to bring to the attention of the Secretary of the Electoral Commission present, you will note, sir, that whereas the Electoral Commission spends 50 billion to put up those structures of the Youth Council, Government facilitates them with an aggregate of around 1 million each year, and that amounts to 5 billion in 5 years. So that becomes a contradiction. So in my view, the simple solution to all this would be we wholesomely demand that the Youth Council be adequately funded to convene the National Youth Council meeting, which is called the National Delegates Conference, but also reach out to build capacity to the youth leaders as far as parish level, as far as sub-county level. That would be the most important. That would create a mode of accountability for all the youth leaders, the members of parliament, and would create a platform for the youth to always move an agenda in a similar direction. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much. Number 2.
Thank you very much. My name is Abubeka Matanda, National Youth Coordinator, Alliance for National Transformation, and aspirant for Chairperson, National Youth Council. I want to agree with the submission of Edison on facilitation and propose that we change this. Instead of demanding for the convening of the National Youth Council, we demand for the convening of all councils. National Youth Council has a pyramid structure. There is a village youth council, there's a parish youth council, there's a sub-county youth council, there's a district youth council. So when you focus on the summit and ignore the base where the information and the resolutions and the aspirations and the interest aggregation, as we called it, is coming from, I think we would miss a point. So this should start right from the village. Members may want to even know that the National Youth Council Act empowers a village youth council to make resolutions that are binding on all youth in a village. So I think if we start from the village, it then becomes easier to cascade upwards. They can be organized in a way that there is a wave for the village, then we move to the parish, then sub-county, district. By the time you reach the National Youth Council, you have captured the sentiments and the aspirations of all the young people. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I think that's important. Number 3, Walid.
Thank you very much. I also appreciate the two comrades, Comrade Zugumayo and Comrade Matanda, for their submission on this topic. My view is that we should go beyond voting because that is the only activity or duty that our national youth councils are left with in the current setting. We should look at making the structures active, making them productive. My suggestion is that we need to involve them in government programs. Government programs like YLP, EMIOGA, the Operation Wealth Creations, and other development-oriented programs. The youth structures from the village must be the nerve center of these programs as opposed to other categories of people. Because as we are aware, we are the majority. These structures represent the majority within the village. So my thinking is to reactivate them from the village. Secondly, also to increase the budget from 5 billion at least to about 10 billion per year. Because if we pride in being the majority and the majority is not invested in, which type of people are we nurturing? So in my own thinking, I demand that we increase the budget from 1 billion to 10 billion, such that these NYC structures have activities that make them active and productive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The other people, if the issue has been raised, please omit it from your talking points. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Jenny Aisiwe.
You have 1 minute.
Yeah. First of all, for me, I even don't know what the National Youth Council do or does, because here it has sat. I don't know what they say, what they do.
I'm also in position to ask the government to empower all youth leaders, not only youth who are in the National Youth Council, because we have youth councillors and they do a lot. And then the Youth Act does not recognize a youth councillor, and yet they are the ones implementing all the youth activities in their respective areas. For example, ILP. In my district, or what I know, I'm the chairperson for community-based services at the district. I am the one accountable to answer the all YLP issues, yet the National Youth Council only gave the mandate to the youth chairperson and the female affair and the finance. They don't report to us. We don't know how it does, but we are the ones answerable, and we are the ones who go for monitoring for YLP activities, yet we are nowhere. So it means, to me, the government has to empower all youth leaders at all levels. And again, it has to empower all youth councils, as other colleagues have said, because we begin from down, going upwards. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very, very much. We had a gentleman there, I think it was the final one. Oh yes, second last. We need to be closing. It's coming to 1. We don't want to lose any more time.
For the benefit of clarity, my name again is Yeru Jacob, an aspirant for the National Youth Council chairperson on the NRM ticket. I would like to benefit first from the wisdom of Comrade Rugumayo and Comrade Matanda. I think I agree with them. I'd only add that we should also seek to make it mandatory for the National Youth Council to be a supervising body for government programs for young people. I think that it's a little defeatist that the pyramid structure does not become a supervising structure on matters that they have the biggest utility and latitude to have voices of input. I think that that's important. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Finally, the gentleman there from Jema.
Thank you so much. Once again, my name is Clinton Musings of the Justice Forum. My suggestion on this is informed by what members here decided, that we should have an independent ministry for youth. Therefore, I think if that ministry is created, then it will have enough funding to fund the youth council sitting. I don't know who suggested twice, but for me, I think it can even be quarterly, so that maybe 2 times it can go to those lower levels at the district, so that then there is more value for the National Youth Council.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that issue, I think we have asked for a minimum. The call for 2 conventions is a minimum. It does not say that Rugumayo was saying that I think there's a provision for 1 in the law. So for us to ask for a minimum of 2 does not negate the fact that we will be much more appreciative if 10 were offered. And by default, if we talk of 10, there will be increased funding to the National Youth Council. Okay, so we are equally going to push ahead with this demand. We are not going to vote on it, because I'm sure nobody is suggestive to the fact that you want to have it scrapped with the supplements. Yes, rather with some of those amendments that have been suggested as captured by the Secretariat. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you here have come from as far as Western Nile, Arua. Others have come from as close as Kabale. We don't want to eat into the time of your possibility to travel. I therefore would like to declare the plenary session closed. We set ground rules. I don't want us to break them. Because if you set a trap, you should be cognizant of the effect of that trap on you. So let's agree that we have to move. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to suggest that we end our plenary discussion. And now that our plenary discussion is ended, the Secretariat is working to ensure that the final document that we are going to have, which we shall share with other stakeholders in this process, is final and has incorporated the amendments that you have suggested thereunder. So we are not going to have a presentation of the validated Uganda Youth Political Memorandum, but just know and have it with assurance, utmost assurance, that these ideas have been captured and that the final document will be reflective of the same. On that note, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, allow me at this point in time to invite the chairman of the iPod Summit, who is also the president of the Justice Forum, Honorable Asuman Basarirwa, to come and make his remarks. A number of issues that have been raised speak to political parties, not only political parties with representation in parliament, although that is a focus of iPod, but I'm sure that in his remarks, he will also touch on a number of other items that require political will, legislation, and related aspects. Honorable Asuman Basarirwa, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much, the Master of Ceremonies, the Secretary of the Electoral Commission, the NIMD country representative, the technical staff from the NIMD Secretariat, distinguished political party young people, ladies and gentlemen, I have requested the organizers to allow me make my remarks and leave immediately. But as I leave, obviously, I'm going to leave you in the able hands of the Secretary of the Electoral Commission. And by the way, in your introductions, you were saying you are going to contest for the various offices. If there is a person whose number you should have, it is Mr. Mulekwa's number. As the Secretary of the Electoral Commission, not for purposes of enabling you rig election, but for purposes of ensuring that you get the right information about the electoral processes. So don't leave this place without requesting him to give you his number the way he has done for me. Secondly, I have listened very attentively to your views and presentations. First of all, I want to thank you that you are coming up with issues of engagement. We are going into an election, and as young people, you have found it fit to have certain key issues for engagement. And this is very important because as a group, it would really be unfortunate that there is an electoral process going on, and as young people, you have no issues at the table. It would really be very unfortunate. But I am glad that you have considered the issues you have discussed today as vital for purposes of engaging. That means if anybody comes to you asking for their votes, you have at least a beginning point where you will say, for purposes of the next election or the next parliament or various stakeholders, could you please consider these issues? I want to thank you for that. I know that there is a lot that affects young people. But at the same time, you are not going to say everything at this point in time. So you decide to look out for some critical key issues. I want to thank you for that and applaud you for that initiative. Now, when your representative was reading the memorandum, I was listening very attentively. I want to share a few personal experiences. I am now 42 years. About 9 years ago, I was elected to lead the JEMA party. I was about 32, 33 years, slightly having left the youth age of 30. Obviously, before that, I had been guild president at Makerere. I had been the chairperson of the Youth League of JEMA. I had been secretary for Youth League. Secretary for the youths in JEMA. I had been secretary legal affairs in JEMA. And by the time I was elected JEMA president, I had served various roles. Now, one of the challenges I find with young people, especially these days, is that you are a majority that behave like a minority. It is really unprecedented. You cannot be a majority and you behave like a minority. Now, how do minorities behave? They want to be given. They are lamenting. They are asking. That's not how majorities behave. If you are really the majority in the country, you cannot be lamenting. You cannot be asking to be given. What do majorities do? Majorities act. If you are asking for representation, you should not be asking, be available. Because nature abhors a virtue. If you are not available, then nobody will think about you. So I want to call upon you to behave like a majority because you are a majority. It is no longer fashionable to say you are the leaders of tomorrow. No, majorities cannot be leaders of tomorrow. Majorities cannot be leaders of now and today. Now, you continue sitting wherever you are. You are in JEMA Youth League, you are in UPC Youth League, you are there, you are the majority, and you are waiting to be given space. Let me tell you, naturally people are selfish. And nobody is going to give space to anybody. Spaces are fought for. Because even those in those spaces don't want to leave. Somebody has been president for 30 years, he still wants to be president. And is very determined to do whatever it takes to continue to be president. And as young people, you think he's going to wake up and say, please come and occupy this seat. No, it's not going to happen. Somebody has been an MP for 20 years. He still wants to be MP. You know them and you see them. And you are there as young people, you think this person is going to provide the space for you. They are not going to do it. So what do? We fight for the space. We join the space and fight from there. So for me, I want to challenge you as young people. The opportunities are out there. Don't wait for those opportunities to look for you. Look for them. Use your numbers, do the networking, do the lobbying, and at the end of it all, you are going to become successful. You are going to join these spaces. If you don't do that, you are going to find it extremely difficult. Look at what happened in South Africa. When the Malemas were finding it extremely difficult to penetrate the ranks of ANC, what did they do? They formed the EFF, okay? And they are a power to reckon with at the moment. So why do we, especially here in this country, continue to cocoon ourselves in spaces where we are vulnerable to marginalization, where we are vulnerable to exploitation? I really think we should be thinking about changing our strategy. Now, these positions that we are talking about are not going to come on a silver platter, as you are aware. The unity that has been demonstrated here is a very good bargaining strategy and tool. If anybody wants to engage with you, then make sure you are speaking a similar voice. And I have liked the consensus here. If you are not united, if you don't exploit your unity, your togetherness and your numbers, then it means you are not going to move very far. Now, it's good that you have defined what you want in this document today. And I want to assure you that you now have a very big responsibility of disseminating what you have agreed upon here to the young people out there who have not had the opportunity to come here. And I think when Frank was giving his opening remarks, he did say that they would have loved to have so many people here. Unfortunately, because of the current COVID-19 restrictions, they had to choose limited numbers. Now, those of you who are here, you have a responsibility to take the message you have gathered from here to our colleagues outside, the young people out there who are not here. Now, finally, I want to specifically comment on some of the issues you have raised by way of either answering them, but also raising challenges. Number one, you are demanding an increment in the number of MPs. And you are saying, logically, your argument makes a lot of sense. You are saying we are the biggest entity. We are a majority. How come our representation is not in tandem with our numbers? And your argument is that at least let's have 2 youth MPs per region, one of whom must be a female. A very legitimate demand. But how do you juxtapose that demand with the cry of a bloated parliament? How do you reconcile the two? I have had engagements across the country where everybody is concerned at the size of our parliament. If you moved around parliament, okay? Now we are sitting in the parking because of COVID-19 restrictions. But the chamber itself is not enough for all of us. They are building a new one. I am not very sure whether it will be enough. Because again, we have increased on the number of representatives. New constituencies have emerged. So there is a concern on the cost of public administration in this country. As young people, should we be the ones demanding for an increased size of parliament? Is it in our interest? What do we do? How do we reconcile the fact that we have a big parliament, but as young people we are saying, no, it should even be bigger? How do we reconcile that? In your consultations as NIMUD, as IPOD, when you were engaging these young people, is that an issue you discussed? Because I would be interested in knowing that, so that as MPs we don't receive the backlash, because we are the ones who pass these proposals. But when we pass them, usually they originate from somewhere. But who takes the bashing? It is the MPs. How can they increase the size of parliament? How can they do this? Because we are the final determinant. But these matters originate from somewhere. Now we need to shoulder the burden. And I want the young people to be on record to say, for us, we are comfortable with having a big parliament. Let's increase our numbers to 2 per region. You be on record on that. And I would be interested in knowing exactly how you proceed on that. Number 2, on the demand for replacing, electoral college with adult suffrage. Again, have you thought out the logistical implications that would arise from that transformation? Have you thought about it? Is it something that you took time to think about and you are comfortable with it? No. The decision is that we are comfortable with it. A vote has been taken, not so. But I'm saying, is it something you thought about? If you asked me, I would actually prefer adult suffrage. If I was among those voting, I would prefer adult what? Adult suffrage. But I'm also aware of its own challenges. And I'll allude to it when I'm commenting on the other aspects. Because adult suffrage has its own logistical challenges. just like Electoral College. And sometimes, but by the way, Electoral College is worse. Let me share with you an experience. In 2001, I contested to be Member of Parliament for the youths of Eastern Uganda. I was still guild president, so I thought I was very popular. So I went. We were converged in Imbali. We converged in Imbali. When we reached Imbali, could we see the voters? Some very rich, financially able guys had picked the voters and hidden them somewhere. There were 3 rich guys. My friend, the late Turner, the brother of this Turner who was just contested, is the one who beat us that time. We had the Owen Chibenge and the others. Now, one of them took the voters to Tororo, a sizable number, and hid them somewhere in Tororo. Another one took voters to IUIU in Imbali there. Another one took them to Soroti. So those of us who were coming to meet the voters for the first time in Imbali, could we see them? Now it came for public address of the voters. These candidates came alone. Each one had left their voters somewhere in their comfort zones with instructions to just come and vote and go away. So we addressed an empty gathering, an empty hall. So we were asking, by the way, and where they had hidden the voters, it was inaccessible. I remember one of the candidates who had hidden the voters in IUIU. I went there and I said, by the way, so when I reached the gate, somebody said, that one should not come in because he's one of the candidates. He's going to mix with he's going to meet the voters of our person here. I said, but in IUIU there is a mosque, I'm a Muslim, I've come to pray. Said, no, Mbale has many mosques, go away. We couldn't access the what? The voters. Now, on the voting day, they were coming in taxis and buses. So they come to vote with clear instructions. Come and vote. After voting, they board and they are taken back. We didn't even have an opportunity to speak to them even after the voting. Now that's Electoral College for you. So I am glad that it is something you thought about, and maybe perhaps it will be considered. Now, a demand for 40% representation in political parties and organizations. I am going to ask a rather difficult or hard question, but I have to ask it. Who has stopped younger people from having the 40% in the parties? Who? Who? Okay? And for me, that's where I have a difference with you. Who has stopped the younger people from having this? Is it because of the laws in our respective political parties say young people cannot be beyond 40%? Is it what our party's constitutions say? Is it what it says? Eh? Eh? So I think, is it because there are age limits or age restrictions in our party constitutions? Is it so? I think really we are not facing the challenge directly. It would only make sense if anybody said in our respective political parties there are bottlenecks that are constitutional in nature. That in JEMA, for you to be to contest maybe for Secretary General or for President, you must be 30 years and above. If there are those restrictions, it makes sense. But in the absence of those restrictions, why don't you go for them? Really, why should there be a law to enable you to go there? Why? Really, for me, I have had a fundamental problem, a fundamental challenge with some of our approach to this idea called the, affirmative action. I have had a very fundamental challenge. And we should really begin thinking in that direction. But we are a country where we are the majority. Just allow me borrow your generation. Assuming me and you are in the same generation. although I am fairly older than most of you. But we are the majority. But majorities are asking that, please give us 40%. Majority is asking that. It's really a travesty. What's wrong with you guys? So we need to check ourselves. We need to do it honestly. Because you see, this one of younger people is different from, for example, the disabled that face certain physical challenges. Those you can say, but you're a young man, you're energetic, you can mobilize, you can talk, you can run, you can do whatever it takes to garner the votes. But still you are saying, please give me. With due respect, I think I want to disagree respectfully in as far as this issue is concerned. Number two, it also presents a question of choice. Because you are directing this to political parties, to the Speaker and the Electoral Commission. First of all, with regard to affirmative action in our respective political parties, that is an issue for us, the parties. It's not for the Electoral Commission, it's not for the Speaker of Parliament. Let us put pressure in our own respective parties to achieve this. So the JEMA people go and begin the fight. NRM people go and begin the fight internally. And you'll be able to achieve this if you think it is very necessary. Now, in terms of governance structures across the country, again, I have the same challenge. For example, now we are going into presidential elections, not so? How many young people are showing up for the highest office? How many? How many are showing up? Somebody is saying nomination fees. That's also a weakness. If as young people we have an agenda, why don't we mobilize for the fees? Why? Okay? So there is an opportunity for us to have a young person we are looking on. Then when the old people take over, we go to them to beg. Very unfortunate. But you see, it's really up to you. So for me, I think there are opportunities that are coming up. We should look at them and see how we overcome them. Now, the issue of reduction fees and nomination fees. Again, why is there nomination fees in the first place? It's also important for us to understand why nomination fees is set. Now, I have heard people say Electoral Commission look into this issue. The issue of nomination fees is entirely the issue of government and parliament. Leave the Electoral Commission out of it. For them, they just implement what government has proposed and what parliament has proposed. I am aware that in proposing these fees, there are also selfish motives. I am aware of that. That some MPs are scared of competition from young people. And what do? Put the fees high to kick some of them off. I am aware. But you also ask a question. Do you want a process that does not in any way request or ask for nomination fees? Fortunately, I think we are in agreement that nomination fees is necessary, isn't it? It has been an issue of the figure. 3 million, 20 million, isn't it? But it is necessary. And I want you to study electoral systems across the world. You are going to discover that in every electoral system, there are qualifications. They are really benchmarks, and they differ from country to country. You are going to discover that in some countries, there is no requirement for nomination fee. But that requirement is compensated in some other undertaking. For example, the number of nominees will increase in some jurisdictions. So you have to look at it in a comparative way. And with the parties, again, my brother from UPC said it well. You people are not paying membership fees. You are not even paying subscription fees. And with due respect, when we went into multipartyism in 2005, NRM introduced a very bad system. A very bad system. The reason why our parties are weak and the reason why people are not contributing to political parties, the problem was largely created by the NRM. They made their cards free. Because they are a party in power, it is very easy for them to access a few advantages, and they made their cards free. Now, when it came to us to ask people to pay for cards, they say, I would rather go to the NRM where cards are free. Now, if somebody has no connection with the party, either financially or ideologically, how do you expect that party to survive, honestly? And it's the reason why Ugandans don't even contribute to their parties. But again, have a lot of demands on parties. You'll hear people saying, no, you people, you Jema, why aren't you in Arua? Why aren't you in Sorot? Do you know what it takes to take a party to Arua? Or to, do you know what it takes? It takes money, it takes logistics. Most of these political parties, by the way, especially the parties in opposition, are being funded by we, the party leaders. Out of our own monies as political party leaders, I will tell you. 2 years ago, before I became an MP, now that I am earning some money from parliament and my party is earning some money from political party funding, I would get money from my law firm. My law firm to pay for water and electricity bills at the party, Jema Party headquarters in Mengo. Out of my money. But because it is a struggle, this is what is happening. But the public is putting demands on us political parties. But they are not contributing to these political parties. It's also a contradiction of sorts. So, I really also don't agree with people who are saying that nomination fees in political parties should be scrapped. How is the Electoral Commission of your political party going to run the party processes? How? You are going to have, for example, party primaries. How is it going to be conducted? It is that money that you contribute in nomination that sometimes facilitates these electoral processes and activities. Now, if you are saying no money at all, how are we going to run our parties? It's going to be a very big problem. With the exception of NRM and FDC, the rest of us are struggling. Because out of the 10 billion that government allocates to political parties, 7 billion goes to the NRM. 1 billion goes to FDC. Then the rest is shared. Jema gets the list, about 30 million. Very little money. UPC is in about 400 around there and DP around there. So FDC and NRM get the biggest share of the political party finances. So perhaps for them, they can afford to run. Even if they don't ask for nomination fees, they can afford to run. Because the money they get from the taxpayer is so much. And because the law dictates like that, the law says money is allocated on the basis of what? Numerical strength. So NRM with the biggest number gets the biggest chunk. FDC, which is the second number, in the opposition gets the biggest chunk. Jema with only one MP versus Aliro gets the lowest. So Jema, UPC and DP, we really need the nomination fees. NRM and FDC, well, maybe you don't like it, you don't need it, because you are cushioned somewhere. And of course also that means that parties should work hard. We should work hard to be like FDC, we should work hard to be like NRM. Have more members. That's why when it comes to the issue of elections, parties are very jealous because they know what is there. People would protect their members to contest for positions because ultimately there is that aspect of it. So I really think that as young people, we should encourage and support the idea of making some contributions, and we can discuss around that aspect. Finally, you are also proposing to have a youth ministry or something like that. I want to relate this to my first point. Again, is it the view of the young people that we should have a big cabinet? Sorry? Is it our view that we should have a big cabinet? As young people, we think our matters cannot be handled in the existing structure. Let's have a separate ministry. Uganda has how many ministers? Over 80 something? Not so? Again, the concern of a bloated cabinet comes into play. You know, we are a country of so many things. A very big parliament, a very big cabinet, we have very many laws, everything. For us here in Uganda, we think solutions to everything come from sizes. If you have a problem with the elections, make many electoral laws. If you have a problem with corruption, make many anti-corruption laws. If you have a problem with legislation, have many MPs. But things don't work like that. Have we really undertaken a study on the relationship between the size of cabinet and service delivery? Have we studied the relationship between a particular segment of society having a ministry and the reciprocal benefits of that arrangement? But if tomorrow the Muslims have a ministry in cabinet, all their problems will be over. Have we thought about that? Are we saying that Uganda of the 60s, because we had fewer ministries, the situation was so bad at that time as compared to now? Are we saying that USA, with a limited size of cabinet, is badly off as compared to us with very many ministries? Those are just questions I want to put over to you to think about when we are making some of these demands. I want to thank you. The issues that you have raised for iPod, I was telling Frank here that when I assumed the office of iPod chairperson, I wrote to all political leaders of political parties to meet them. I went and met the president of FDC in Najanankumbi. We had a very long discussion. I met the president of UPC. I met the president of DP. The president or chairman of NRM refused to reply to my letter. So I have not met him. So some of the things we could have discussed in a summit have been frustrated by the NRM chairman. The other day, the Secretary General of the NRM came to Parliament in the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. I asked her why the chairman of NRM is frustrating an iPod summit meeting. She told me the chairman is still very busy. That's all about 3 months ago. Maybe they will find time. So some of the issues here, we will try to bring them to the attention of our Secretary Generals at the level of iPod. I don't know whether the speaker has delegated somebody. The other concerns for parliamentary attention will be brought to the attention of the speaker, and then those within our respective political parties, we shall try as much as possible to handle them. I want to thank you so much for listening to me. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of iPod Council. Apologies. My sincere apologies. Because we are so much with the iPod Council, that's why I have mistakenly lowered his rank to that level. Mr. Chairman, please accept my apologies. Thank you so much for the remarks. I think we have quite a number of responses given to the questions that we have asked. Nevertheless, as we ponder on what he has told us to think about, we'll still work towards an agenda that interfaces with other people, and maybe in the course of the time, we may have a few answers to the questions he has raised. Ladies and gentlemen, on your agenda, on the program, you'll notice that for the day, our agenda of the day had Mrs. Lillian Abel, who you all rightly voted into office as the chairperson of the National Youth Council. I have just received a notification that she is unable definitely to be here because of a few other commitments, but I have also been informed that she has passed on her message of about 5 minutes to a gentleman called Edson Rugumayo. So I would like to invite Edson Rugumayo to come and pass on the message of Mrs. Lillian Abel at this point in time, before we can have the secretary of the Electoral Commission. Please.
Thank you so much. The Right Honorable Speaker in absentia, the Chairman of the Electoral Commission, the Executive Director of NIMD, and your fellow staff members, the fellow youth leaders. I'm called Rugumayo Edson, and I'm the Secretary for Foreign Affairs of the National Youth Council. I bring you sincere apologies from our chairperson, Ms. Abel Lillian. She has not been able to make it here simply because she's committed. As you well know, she's a candidate in Kitugum constituency, and she prays for your support. On behalf of the National Youth Council and on behalf of the chairperson of the National Youth Council, and on my own behalf and on behalf of the other youth leaders, I wish to extend my sincere gratitude, number one, to NIMD for the wonderful effort you've put in to traverse the whole country, mobilize young people, and hear what they have to say, especially now that we are going into an election. We want to thank you and say we highly appreciate your effort, and may God bless you. On the other note, I wish to thank the fellow youth leaders. On my own behalf and the chairperson, I wish to extend my gratitude to you. We have noted in this debate that we went beyond our confines of political parties and we focused on discussing youth issues that really affect the young people. I want to thank you for that, and may we keep that spirit. I can't fail to emphasize before government and all stakeholders present that we need to listen to the plight of young people. It's unfortunate that the Honorable Chairman of IPOD has left, but I've loved to emphasize on these key issues when he's present. So many times the young people come out and make statements, but I think you've noted the resistance we get when interfaced with our colleagues or people who are stakeholders in government currently. We continue to pray that when issues of young people are presented to you, especially the people and the stakeholders, please listen to them and not listen to them in your position, in your current position. We all are youth, but may not be youth tomorrow. Why we advocate for these things is not because we want to remain youth, but we want to push that when we live and become adults, the youth who come after us find better positions and find better position to live up their own members of constituencies. Therefore, my prayer on behalf of all the youth leaders is that the youth demands that we have written down in this memorandum be taken serious, because they form an aggregate of the youth views. And I wish to affirm to you, Secretary who is present, that NIMD went across the country consulting youth leaders, and that the things you see on this paper are not their own making, but these are views expressed by youth leaders. I was lucky to be part of one of the conferences they held in the region. So these are not issues concocted from here. These are issues across the country. And we pray that you take interest in them and push for them to be successful. On another note, I wish to thank you all and pray. For example, when we come here and say, increase the number of members of parliament for the youth, it is that at that moment when government feels now there has been a burden of expenditure. And yet last year or last month, when they increased the number of the capacity of parliament by 46 members of parliament, they felt it is an easy thing to let go. I think we need to emphasize this. The young people make the greatest percentage of this population. I don't know why, at any point, should we feel it is a burden to just increase the representation from 5 to 8 or to 10 when they demand so. And it comes easily when members ask for 46 constituencies to be created in just by resolution of parliament. We pray that this be taken seriously. The representation matters a lot. We thank you, and we thank you all. May God bless you.
Okay, thank you so much, Edson, for delivering a message from Miss Lilian Abel. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of our program today, I want to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, who is the Secretary to the Electoral Commission, to come and give his remarks and responses to the various questions that have been raised and issues pointed to the attention of the Electoral Commission. You are welcome, sir.
Country Representative Nimudi. The political players, political party representatives, all the youth leaders in your various capacities, then invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to all of you. I bring you apologies from the chair of the commission. He had other commitments, and he asked me to bring the apologies. He says, I should say it, that COVID apart, the doors of the commission are open for consultation, for information. So in case you require any information, or if you think you want to engage with the chair, as long as within the safe procedures under COVID-19, the doors are open. And it's not just being said, it's being practiced, that so many people are able to really interact with him. I want to thank Nimudi for this exposure to the youth. Many times in the past, elections was a matter of the Electoral Commission. Today, as an election manager, I'm happy that many people throughout the year are discussing issues of elections. And until we get to that, it would be difficult for us to implement free and fair elections. And I'm more delighted that the youth are seriously on board and moving away from the training ground as youth committees to the real national politics. Like I've had many here aspiring candidates for the various positions in the political arena. I pray that we see most of you successful, and that would be a lot of experience at the end for them to share with the other youth who would not have participated. Even if those who don't go through, I think they will have a lot of experience to share. There is a lot to discuss in terms of elections. Just to say, we know we had to have an election. Many people castigated the Electoral Commission for rolling out the roadmap. But remember, as Uganda, we respect the mother law, the Constitution. And that Constitution directs that we have elections. It does not know about COVID-19. All it directs that we must organize elections. And we did just that. And we have explained. And we are going ahead. I'm happy that even the youth are on board with us moving ahead. And the practice I've seen here, I'm happy that you are following the SOPs for safe interaction. The spaces, the people having the masks, and I've seen even at entry, we have to wash hands, there are sanitizers. This is what we are talking about, that we can still safeguard both the health of the population and safeguard the democracy. Some people have the view that the country should declare a state of emergency. I'm sure in the Constitution, this would go on for 6 months. After 6 months, what would happen? What would happen? There would be no government. Because those are the provisions. Others thought, let's extend Article 61 for you to amend it so that you extend when we should conduct the elections. You have to carry out a referendum. Now, a referendum is an election. Why don't we go for the election anyway? And that's why we had to go out. At the commencement of the revised roadmap, even members of parliament castigated us, and we challenged them that let any Uganda who has power announce extension of the election. Who had power over that article? Nobody came up. Not even the parliament could stand and say, we are amending this article. And that's the reason we're having elections. I'm happy we are moving on well. Yes, with some challenges, but I'm sure all of you are here, youth could have participated. Country representative, we have had activities start from where we stopped before the lockdown due to COVID-19. We rolled out elections for the special interest groups. We started with older persons on the 11th. We had persons with disabilities on the 13th. And on the 17th, we had elections for the youth. And I'm sure all the youth who are here participated. Yes, we had challenges in some areas. And the main reasons for the challenge, where we had areas that failed to conduct the elections, we had 43 villages that failed across the country. In some of those areas, unfortunately, our officials failed the exercise. You can imagine where they are appointed to help conduct the exercise, they participated in failing the exercise. In some villages, some candidates who smelt loss made sure the exercise does not take place. In some instances, people had even lined. Someone looks behind, he realizes the line is very short, they cause the commotion. Anyhow, we have had those villages do their elections. 2 of them, I think, petitioned because they could not agree up to the commission. And I think they're having their activities today so that they are part of the parish level. Country representative elections are progressive. If your village does not conduct elections, it will miss out on parish. If you miss on parish, it means you may not get into the higher levels. And these ones go up to parliament. For those who want to participate in local governments, indeed, as it has been said, the government added new areas, 46 new counties, 10 cities, 1 district, 168 town councils, and they asked us to absorb this. And we were forced to adjust the nomination dates for local governments from 7th September to 21st. Next week, we are likely to be in the field to carry out some activities to align those new areas. Because some of the villages, this was a village, they would cut this corner into a parish cut down. So now we have to go there and identify the voters in which villages they have remained so that we have registers in those new town councils. So because of that, we had to extend the nomination dates and period for local governments from 21st September to 1st October. Nominations for parliamentary remain as earlier announced, 12th and 13th October. Nominations for presidential remain as earlier announced, 2nd and 3rd November. So for those who want to really go there. And we did come out with guidance on what is the popular SOPs. But what we are doing here, these are the SOPs. That for nomination, for those who are going to turn up for nomination, because of COVID-19, we are not going to have that mayhem we normally have. Lorries and buses ferrying people. We shall expect 3 people. The aspiring candidate and the person who is going to propose and second. And really, that's what the law provides. 3 critical people. And those are the ones we expect to access the nomination center. And we're expecting that they will be, like we are here, masked. There will be facilities there, they have to wash hands. If you don't want to wash hands, you will not access the center. We have also said after nomination, we are going to have campaigns. And we have said there will be no mass rallies as we know them. But there will be campaign meetings. You can see this as a campaign meeting. All we have said, which some politicians are not comfortable with, is to tell us that I'm going to have at Mestil Hall, Bunyonyi Hall, a meeting. I will have 5,000 people in the hall. What we want is we come here with you or the organizer and we say, can 5,000 people fit here? You convince us that in this kind of setting like you are, you can have 5,000 people. If they fit, we say go ahead. If they don't fit, we shall say no. Now, the part of saying no is what some politicians are saying, we are controlling. We are not controlling. We are only enforcing safety. Surely, if you want to have a campaign meeting of 5,000 people in this hall, we are going to say no, because they don't fit. And we said police will enforce to make sure that meeting does not take place. And that's why we are being accused by some people that we have relegated our responsibility to police. Definitely, as Electoral Commission, I don't think we have a force. It's the police and it's their mandate constitutionally to do so. So we are not relegating our mandate, but we are guiding. And we have said this, it's clear. It's up to the organizers to find an appropriate hall or venue. If you say I'm going in a playground, the other facilities we want, we are human beings. You will want to go to the gents, to the ladies. So if you want a place, we want to know whether there are sanitation facilities on top of the COVID measures. If they are not there, we are going to say no. And really we are appealing that people respect this. Because you are not going to carry people to a place where there is no toilet. Going to the toilet is a natural mechanism. We have no control on it. So, wherever you're organizing your meetings, for those who are going to contest, please make sure those facilities are there. And that those ones constitute the SOP. And masks, social distance like you are, I don't think these are really difficult. And now they are not new. I'm sure we know. Come voting day, and that's why we are saying, we have never said we are conducting scientific election. No. But some people are concocted that word on us, which we didn't say, and we denied it because it's not scientific. Polling day, we are going to conduct it as usual, but with the safety measures. People will come up and line. We don't line back to back like we have been doing. There will be someone to make sure that there is a distance between the people or the voters in the queue. And that before you access the polling station, you will wash your hands. And as you exit, you will wash your hands. Why exit? Because inside the polling station, you are going to touch material. The officials will issue a ballot paper. There will be a pen. Maybe there will be ink. So to make sure you don't carry any of these risks home, as you exit, we are going to ask that wash hands. And we are appealing that really now it should become a personal issue. It's personal hygiene now. The so-called SOPs. I think these are good personal hygiene practices now. After that, you vote, you go home. We count and everything else is as usual. Nothing scientific. Some people said we are going to vote online. I don't think we have reached that level, Uganda, to vote online. Really briefly, in terms of election, I want to encourage the youth. There are so many positions. It's possible for the youth to occupy all elective positions in this country. From president to councillor. Because now to become a president, you need to be 18. I think that's what Honorable Baswara was saying, that you are majority. If you decided, you can have it. Not so. It's not possible for the elderly to occupy all positions, but it's possible for youth to occupy all what? Positions. It's also possible for women to occupy all political positions, but it's not possible for men to occupy all. So women and women who are youth, I think you have even more opportunities. So you could have the whole parliament women, because while women have the reserved seats, they are not stopped from participating on the general seats. So you can have the whole parliament women. It's possible by law, and there will be nothing wrong, because that's the law. But you cannot have the whole parliament with men. So I think that's very important. As far as elections, allow me now to make a comment on your memorandum. First, again, I thank NIMD for this, to bring the youth together in an organized conversation to discuss issues that not only promote the youth, but promote our country. And I believe if the youth are organized, it's easier to organize the country. So they are the ones with the energy, you know, and I don't think there are any more future leaders. They are leaders today. As EC, for a long time we thought, like you are thinking in A, I think it's not fair for a female youth to have Uganda as a constituency. It's not fair. Yeah, it's not. While for the adults, every district has a woman. For the youth, it's Uganda. I think it's fair to say each region to bring a female, and they could all be female. On adult suffrage, as an operator in elections, I know Electoral College has its challenges, but adult suffrage, for example, member of parliament, a youth, maybe you, even if you said adult suffrage district, if you are going to campaign for a youth councillor to the district under adult suffrage, I don't know. it's quite heavy. It's quite heavy. Because you have had the adults, the women, complaining how it is too heavy for them. Because they used to be under electoral college, they asked for adult suffrage, everybody in a district votes for them. It's so heavy, so you need to look at that. You could have it, but at the time of implementation, I don't know what will happen. There was a proposal of what we call a hybrid, that we could have one group under universal adult suffrage, then those who are elected, home colleges above. Currently, I think your youth committee at village is under adult suffrage, not so? Yeah. Then after that, you fall into colleges. So it is similar. You could look at on that one, see how it is with what you were proposing. On workshops by EC, yeah, we conducted workshops. Now the limitation we have as EC, maybe NIMD will come in on our rescue. We are not able, we would have loved to have a workshop for youth only, for persons with disability. In those various categories, we are not able. So what we had were regional workshops, where we invited the youth leaders, PWD, women, and the other main group. And these were there before, I think, lockdown. Because after lockdown, we only continued from where we had started. Indeed, we realized they are not adequate, but because of funding, we are limited. Because when we invite leaders, I'm sure like NIMD has invited people here, you may have to extend some transport for them. So similarly, when we invite, we do that. When we budget initially, we do that. But because of the basket, we are forced by means of finance to cut and remove some of these workshops. Nomination fees, like it was said, I think some people thought the commission sets. We don't set. We implement what Parliament sets. It's Parliament that sets. So for those who want to go to Parliament, and for those who can address your members of Parliament, because even when it was being revised, we were in Parliament, on our part, we objected as EC, because we know the difficulty we find. Even in local governments, many positions, these people go with no nomination because of the smaller nomination fee charge, 20,000 for councillors, 50,000, and people are not able to raise it. And in our reports, we recommended that for the affirmative group, they should be exempted because many places go without any candidate turning up. So maybe you could do on that. Also, for clarification, the nomination fees paid does not come to the Electoral Commission. Actually, we don't receive any money. In the past, we used to receive and hand it over to the consolidated account. Today, it's received by Uganda Revenue Authority. That's why when someone comes to us now, you bring evidence from revenue that you have paid. We don't receive the money, but I think it goes there and it goes back onto the consolidated account. So it's not directly that once we receive, we use it. We don't use it because we don't receive it. I think those were the issues for clarification. Otherwise, as EC, please youth, especially the leaders, get to consult us, but also get on our website. I know you are friendly with these gadgets. There's a lot of information on our website so that you're able to pass on the information to the people you lead. Because right now we are going in a very busy schedule and some of you are already involved. And COVID around, and I'm sure it's going to be around for some time. Most meetings now are reverting to online meetings. Online meetings, yes, but they have their own shortfalls in terms of dissemination of information. So I would appeal to you, especially the leaders here, Maybe if you have a web, you can support the leaders so that they are able to get this information online and pass on to their constituents. I think it will help them a lot. Otherwise, once again, I thank Nimudi for this organization and for the invitation, the Electoral Commission, to come here and discuss. I would be willing to answer one or two questions, maybe outside the memorandum that are relevant and critical to the electoral process. I thank you and wish you safe journey as we go back home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary of the Electoral Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to invite Mr. Frank Rusa to come and give a thank you to the chairman, to the Secretary of the Electoral Commission. But before he comes, Mr. Secretary, and you ladies and gentlemen, some of you have come at the very tail end of this process. But like I said, it has been a very long process since we started. I'd like to recognize a few people who have put their hands together, heads rather, to ensure that this process is successful this far. The NIMD team has been, of course, led by Mr. Frank Rusa, who is the Executive Director. Please, Mr. Frank, stand up once again for recognition. In that line, supported by myself, my name is already there on the program, Dr. Lawrence Serwambala. I am the Programs Manager for NIMD. We have the money bags in our organization. The lady at the back, Nalongo Sara Musoke Nasaka. She has been ensuring, and she still ensures that things work out perfectly well. We have her finance team. We have two ladies there. Brenda Tuhirirwe, please stand up for recognition. And then we have Senorita Nabafu, please stand up for recognition. We have the program officer, Natasha Apio, that lady there. Then those from the political parties, you were invited, you were given calls by your respective liaison officers. We have liaison officers for each political party in our work structure. I want to recognize the liaison officer for the Democratic Party. Oh, he's out. Yes, that gentleman, Jomeo Richard. Okay, so any people from DP, if you have any issue, please get to him. The liaison officer from the Forum for Democratic Change, Mr. Mwangale, Peter. That gentleman. We have a liaison officer from the Justice Forum, Hajat, okay, Asmat Nabalamba, the lady there. The liaison officer from the National Resistance Movement, Ronald Komakech, I think is out. And then we also have a liaison officer from the Uganda People's Congress, Mr. Omara Andrew. Then we have the lady who ensures that all the nuts are bolted, the T's are crossed, and the I's are dotted. And that is our admin, Miss Barbara Nyakato. Some of our members are not here, but these people have all along put their heads together when we're conceptualizing this from the east to the north and everywhere. Now, these, of course, have been assisted, sorry, not assisted, but supported by a team from the Public Policy Institute, notably Mr. Emmanuel Kitamirike, the Executive Director of PPI, and Dan, this gentleman here. You remember, I'm sure you saw him on our trail. We can't but thank you all for the work you have done. Mr. Frank Rusa, please come and extend.
So shall we clap for Dr. Lawrence Serwambala? Thank you very much. The Acting Secretary, Electoral Commission, Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, representing the Chairman of the Uganda Electoral Commission, Justice Byabakama. We are really, really thankful that you have found time to come and be with us. For me, this is a sign that you take issues of the young people seriously. I know you're so busy. Electoral Commission is the busiest place to be in this point in time. So for the EC to come and give you 3 hours of their time at this high level is highly, highly appreciated. Let's give them a clap. Also, on my own, personally, I would like also to congratulate you, Mr. Mulekwa, on the nomination to be acting secretary of the Electoral Commission at this point in time. Some of you may not know, but in my past life, about 15 years ago, or thereabout, I used to be at the Electoral Commission as the head of the legal department. And at that time, Mr. Mulekwa and I were in the management committee of the Electoral Commission. So I know it for a fact that election management is in very good hands in Mr. Mulekwa. So congratulations, sir. As we conclude, ladies and gentlemen, as you are the person who has spoken on behalf of the Youth Council chairperson has said, issues of young people, not just in Uganda, but the world all over, from the global north to the global south, issues of young people in politics are very serious. And because of social media and all these alternative forms of media, the expression of young people has become very loud. So if political parties continue to close the doors, and this is what we have been saying in all fora, we thank this country that politicians in Uganda have agreed on the need to speak to each other at the president's level, at the secretary general's level. Yesterday we were talking to political party leaders from the youth, from the disabled leagues, now the youth leagues. You begin to talk to each other. It is important that we listen to what the young people are saying and open up spaces for meaningful contribution. Beyond the numbers in parliament, beyond the numbers in the councils, it is important that the views of young people are mainstreamed and they are part of the policy documents. We are not just ticking the box here. We are trying to facilitate a process that shall have tangible results. Let me give you our assurance as a secretariat of IPOD and as a principal partner to political parties, the Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy. We will do everything that is possible within the limited resources that we have to ensure that what we have begun is actually produces fruits. But in this process, we shall need your cooperation. Some of you in this room will win elections. And those of you who win elections realize that after you win, that is not the end for pushing for young people. All over Uganda where we went, we had people complaining that when they elect their leaders, they never see them again. That is one of the biggest disservices young leaders have given to young people. Disappearing after you have won. I hope the people in this room will continue the mission of pushing for the interests of young people even after you win. I was explaining to the leaders of the disabled movement yesterday that one of the problems we normally encounter in advocacy is to think that the A to Z of advocacy is around electoral events. There will be young people, there will be problems of young people even on March 2021. And we hope that the people in this room shall continue advocating and working, whether you have won or not, for the interests of young people. This is how struggles are sustained. This is how movements are sustained. And this is what I would like to give you to reflect on as you go back home. As we are ending, I would like to say I'm so grateful. As I was moving around the country, I told my colleagues, when I heard what people are saying in Mbale and Gulu, I realized that we have been playing a disservice to ourselves not to listen to what people are saying. Because there is potential out there. And if this potential is being limited by nomination fees need to be reviewed. Because the potential of our people is on the ground, it's there, but we need to allow it to access the offices for the betterment of this country. Because truly, this country belongs to young people. And even when the young people grow older, I hope they'll create spaces for those who shall come after them. Because once time we were young people, as Basali was saying, we did all we could, we stopped where we could, now you're doing your part, you should also think about those who will come after you. But I am very proud and confident about the breed of leaders that we have. Somebody here mentioned that she's a doctor and she's running for an office. That's powerful. Some people had thought that professionals had abandoned politics, but I'm glad to hear doctors are running, lawyers are running, engineers are running, young people with ideas want to participate, and it is really up to all of us to give you the opportunity to do so. So I thank you very much, and I ask you to maintain this. Thank you so much, Secretary Electoral Commission. Please convey our thanks to the chairman, and we would like to emphasize that at iPod we are so glad that every time we invite the chairman, he shows up or sends us somebody. For us, that's a very good sign, because every time you do that, you show that you like to engage and you like to listen from the people, and therefore together we'll have a better electoral process. May God bless you all as you travel back home, and may God bless our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Frank Rusa, for that thank you note. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end, but I am sure we are going to meet again. The Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy has made a provision. You will all receive a copy at a later time of the final draft. You will receive a copy, and after receiving that copy, it's for your consumption, we will come back to those various regions. We will come back. We are making a provision of coming back to the various regions to disseminate some of the things that we shall have engaged on and with, but we are also making provisions of ensuring that for some of the political leaders, for instance, the Speaker of Parliament and any others that should be at the center of this causing change around the Youth Political Memorandum, are fully on board through a dialogue process. As we end, just a few announcements. We have lunch prepared for us, and lunch will be, I think you'll go out to the ground floor through the parking. The restaurant is down. Move out, turn to your left, left again, close to the parking. Secondly, you will all have facilitation as we normally do. You know how we do things. That facilitation will come to you on your mobile phones. Once again, thank you very much. I now want to invite you, so we stand up. We will have to sing the national anthem. Since the DJ has abdicated, I hope as young people will have the guts of singing it and that we know the words in the national anthem. Okay. Oh, Uganda, old thing, will a future in thy hand. United, free, holy, but together we always stand. May God bless you all. Safe journey back home.